My name is John. I'm 28 years old and work as a retail clerk in an apparel store. Single, no girlfriend, living alone. My only real pleasure is occasionally going out for drinks with friends. Other than that, it's just work and home. Although I find my job fulfilling, there's a sense of loneliness and boredom in my daily life. However, a few years ago, I had a family I dearly loved. Now, I have no idea where they are or what they're doing, and that's frustrating. Right after graduating from high school, I started working part-time at my current shop. My upbringing was pretty complicated. My parents divorced when I was young, and I was raised by my father, but he was arrested for fraud when I was in middle school. After that, I was shuffled around between relatives' homes and eventually placed in a foster care facility. I went to high school but didn't have the money or the desire to go to college. I just like clothes, so I decided to start working. That's where I met Amy, a woman working at our corporate office. Amy was petite and youthful looking. I thought we were about the same age, but I was surprised to learn later she was 10 years older. She originally worked in sales at our store but moved to the corporate office last year. She still visited occasionally for inspections or to help out. Despite the age difference, it didn't seem to matter as I grew more and more attracted to Amy. After I turned 20, I confessed my feelings and we started dating. Initially, she was concerned about our age gap, but my bold personality and her slightly dependent nature meant we didn't really feel the difference and were happy together. When I was 21, we discovered Amy was pregnant. We hadn't particularly planned on marriage, but I was thrilled about the baby with the woman I love. We tried to register our marriage, but it didn't go well with her parents. They disapproved because I was 10 years younger, had an unstable job, and was raised in a foster care facility, while they were a strict family of civil servants. Despite multiple attempts, they never accepted me. Still, I wanted to live with Amy and our child. I believed she felt the same. Eventually, we registered our marriage somewhat like eloping. A beautiful daughter was born to 21-year-old me and 31-year-old Amy. Her name was Sarah. Amy quit her job during the pregnancy and became a full-time homemaker. I continued to work part-time, hoping to become a full-time employee, working hard from morning till night. It was physically tough, but having Amy and Sarah gave me the strength to keep going. When Sarah turned 3, our ordinary and happy life came to an abrupt end.
Daddy, here.
Sarah had just learned to play pretend and handed me a box full of toy fruits. Thanks, yum. I was tired from the summer sale, but Sarah's cuteness was healing.
Mommy, open wide.
She then took a toy cake to Amy. That was our usual way to spend a day off. Then the doorbell rang. Amy, sitting nearby, answered it.
Dad, Mom?
It was Amy's parents, whom we hadn't contacted since our runaway marriage. They had never met Sarah. We let them in and sat on the sofa, Amy's parents, Amy, Sarah, and me on the floor. What are they here for? I wondered, feeling uneasy as their expressions seemed harsh, not like they came to reconcile. Then, looking at me,
We want you to divorce our daughter.
Amy's mother said. I was speechless at the sudden declaration.
Mom, you came here just to say that. It's been 3 years since we married, and we have a daughter. We're a family of 3, living happily and peacefully. Please don't say things like that.
Amy protested. As a husband and a father, I couldn't just sit there. I understand I'm young and my job isn't stable, but I'm working my hardest to become a full-time employee. I'm prepared to protect Amy and Sarah. So, before I could finish, Amy's father interjected.
If you really care about Amy and the child, then please divorce her.
Why can't they understand? I fought.
We can accept becoming a family with a criminal lineage.
When Amy's father, looking apologetic, said,
What are you talking about? Who's a criminal?
Amy, confused, asked, but I understood.
I'm sorry, but we had you investigated. Your father was arrested for fraud. If people found out, Amy and the child would be scorned. Keeping quiet about such an important matter is like fraud itself.
Her words pierced deep into my heart.
John, is it true?
Amy asked. I never intended to hide it. I didn't mean to deceive, but perhaps I felt ashamed. I thought it was something I didn't need to mention. I might have hidden it because I fought that way. I never imagined it would bring misfortune to Amy and Sarah. In the end, I told Amy everything I knew to be true. Amy asked for some time to think, but eventually said that since it wasn't my fault, it didn't matter. She wanted us to continue living as a family of 3. However, the words of Amy's mother haunted me. Could I really make my family happy? From that day, Amy's parents started coming to our house almost daily.
Please get a divorce.
They said. The day they thrust the divorce papers at me, I signed them. Amy was in tears, and Sarah seemed not to understand. I was holding back my tears too. I don't want to leave. I don't want a divorce. I just want to stay here. But if I considered the happiness of Amy and Sarah, I knew I shouldn't be there. Amy didn't follow me, so she must have felt the same. That happened when I was 24. Now, 7 years later, I have no idea how Amy and Sarah are doing. I don't want to contact them and potentially cause them trouble, so I've remained ignorant. Sarah must be 10 years old now. What kind of girl has she become? The difference between 3 and 10 years is too great for me to even imagine. Amy would be 41. I wonder if she's doing well. These thoughts occupy my mind every day, which is why I haven't had a girlfriend since. I often think that I'll probably continue living alone like this. That's what goes through my mind every day. Walking down the dark street to my home tonight, I noticed my smartphone vibrating, an unknown number on the screen. I answered and heard a woman's voice.
Hello, John.
Yes, that's me. Sorry, who is this? I hardly have any female friends who would call, so I had no clue who it might be.
It's Amy.
Amy. There's only one Amy I know. Recognizing her unmistakable voice, I felt a mix of happiness and surprise. But Amy sounded incredibly sad over the phone.
Actually, Sarah has been hospitalized, and today they announced she doesn't have much time left.
What? I was stunned, unable to comprehend the situation. Apparently, Sarah had been feeling unwell recently and was taken to the hospital, where she was diagnosed with a terminal illness. Though she looked fine on the outside, the disease was rapidly progressing inside her. I can't believe Sarah has such an illness. I had always assumed she would grow up normally, become an adult, and even if we never met again, that she would be living her life somewhere healthy and happy. I couldn't visit the hospital that day as visiting hours were over, but the next morning, I went straight to the hospital Amy had told me about. Sarah Smith, Smith being Amy's maiden name, was written on the door of the hospital room. I stood there, taking a deep breath. Inside, there was Sarah. I was about to see her again after so long. When I quietly opened the door to the hospital room, a young girl sitting on the bed was gazing out the window. She turned to look at me with a surprised expression on her face. Her profile seemed so mature I didn't recognize her at first, but when she faced me, it was unmistakably Sarah, unchanged from the times I remembered. Sarah, I called out, overwhelmed with emotion, but she continued to look puzzled. Oh no, then it hit me. Sarah was only 3 when we parted ways. It's more likely she doesn't remember me. Realizing this, I felt awkward, like a stranger intruding in her room. I should have come with Amy, I thought, unsure what to do. Just then, Sarah spoke up.
Daddy.
Sarah, do you remember me? I asked.
A little. It's been a long time, Daddy.
She smiled and replied. Talking to her after so long, I noticed she had grown a lot since she was 3. Her eyes reminded me of mine, but her gentle expressions and facial contours were so much like Amy's. As she cheerfully talked about the time we hadn't seen each other, it was hard to believe she was seriously ill. The idea that she had a limited time left seemed unimaginable. Soon after, Amy arrived and seemed surprised to find me there so early. Despite the years, Amy hadn't changed much, still kind and charming, almost as if time hadn't touched her. It felt like a dream. I never imagined I'd have a chance to spend time with Amy and Sarah again, together as a family.
Being able to chat with Mom and Dad like this makes me so happy. Maybe getting sick wasn't so bad after all.
Sarah said with a smile.
What are you saying?
Amy reacted a bit sternly, uncomfortable with the idea of being sick being a good thing.
But I am happy. Please, let's spend lots of time together as a family while I'm in the hospital.
It seemed that Sarah wasn't fully aware of the severity of her illness.
We need to stay in the hospital a little longer to get better.
They had told her. I certainly wanted to spend time with them, but I worried that being in contact with me might bring in happiness to Amy and Sarah. Hesitant, I didn't immediately respond. But then,
Yes, let's do that. Please, can we?
Amy said, "Okay, I understand. If both of them wanted it, I would do anything to fulfill Sarah's wish." That's why I fought. From then on, I explained the situation to my workplace so that I could leave in time for visiting hours. Visiting Sarah every day. Amy was always there, and the three of us would spend hours chatting about trivial things. When visiting hours ended, Amy and I would leave together, parting ways outside since we headed to different homes. There was so much I wanted to talk about, but I didn't know what to say, so I mostly talked about Sarah. In the year left of Sarah's life, if only this year could last forever, if only we could always be together as a family, I found myself wishing. I had become hopeful for a miracle. One night, Amy called me in a panic, saying Sarah's condition had suddenly worsened. I rushed to the hospital. When I entered Sarah's room, she was asleep, connected to numerous tubes.
She's stabilized for now, but tonight is critical.
The doctor informed us. It had only been half a year since we started meeting again.
Sarah.
In the quiet of the hospital room, with no doctors or nurses around, Amy broke down, holding Sarah's hand. I can't believe Sarah is leaving us. The reality hit hard as I listened to Amy crying. I approached Sarah and stroked her head, a routine I cherished every night. Stroking her head now felt heartbreakingly different. Was my decision wrong? Was Sarah happy? As these thoughts swirled in my mind, Sarah weakly opened her eyes and,
Warm. Mom and Dad's hands. I love it. I've always wanted this.
she said that in a soft, gentle voice. Hearing her say that, tears I had been holding back overflowed. I wanted this too, was all I could manage to say.
Even through tough times, if I have Mom and Dad, I think I can make it.
Amy, listening to every word, was taking in Sarah's every expression.
So I'll definitely beat this illness. Then we can make more memories as a family of 3 again.
So Sarah, who said this breathlessly,
We said we'd only do this while you're in the hospital, remember?
Amy said, wiping her tears and trying to smile.
He.
Sarah's lips curved into a faint smile behind her oxygen mask. I'll do anything for you. If it makes you happy, I'll do whatever it takes. So let's beat this illness. We'll always be together. Promising to always be together was a vow I wasn't sure I could keep, but it was my true feeling.
Thank you.
Sarah whispered before drifting back to sleep. Half a year later,
Look, so many strawberries.
we were at a strawberry farm, about an hour's drive away. Can you really eat all of that, Sarah?
Of course, I love strawberries. Here, Dad, this is for you.
Sarah, wearing a red dress as bright as the strawberries, loaded my palm with them. Well, this much. Can I really eat them all? I wondered. Unperturbed, Sarah then headed over to Amy.
Mom, I'll give you the biggest one. Well, thank you, Sarah.
Sarah had miraculously recovered enough to lead a normal life. She was still not allowed to run at full speed, but the grim prognosis had been lifted and she could live like before. As promised, I regularly met with Amy and Sarah, and we created countless memories together. Is it really okay to be this happy? I occasionally fought, feeling a bit unsure, but
I can't remember the last time I felt this happy.
then Amy, standing beside me, said,
Sarah too, happiest I've ever been.
Sarah exclaimed, hopping around joyfully. So I thought, me too. Maybe this is just how it's meant to be.